Honk Kong Phooey, problematic super guy. Honk Kong Phooey, racist most people's eyes. Gotcha, gotcha, come pow pow pow. That was fun. But in all seriousness, I wanted to start off by saying that I know perfectly well that this old Hanna-Barbera cartoon has not aged well. Actually, many Hanna-Barbera shows from back in the day has some questionable content, and yet I can't help but still think fondly over them. From the comedy of a clueless hero lucking his way through cases, to the implication of racial struggles of Penry the janitor being talked down to by the very police officers he helps on and off the clock. It's so corny, it's so campy, and God do I love it. Today's video will be a celebration of my love for the show, as I redraw a picture I did back in 2011. When I was planning out videos for the near possible future, I was going through my old art to find something to redraw to see my progress, and, well, how could I say no to Penry's face? He's such a good boy. While the line art is very yikes by today's standards I hold for myself, there's a lot of charm here. That, and I would really like to prove I have a better sense of anatomy with Rosemary, and maybe I also wanted to do ship art because, of course, I did. So, without further ado, let's skip scatteroo on out of here and get started. You dig? Oh man, I don't even know where to start. But, to quote the King of Hearts, begin at the beginning and go on till you come to the end. Then stop. Man, 2011, that sure been a hot minute, hasn't it? I had just graduated from high school around that time, which, by the way, was agonizing. People there didn't do like freaking anything really to help me, especially after all the years of being in contact isolation. Long story short, had MRSA, multiple back surgeries, organ failure, kind of dying, but, no big. I was 18 at the time, a baby-faced adult, and, I'd been out of school. I'd been new to the world living post-operations, and more importantly in relation to this video, new to digital art. That didn't mean I was new to art in general though. I've been drawing since the day I can hold my stupid little fingers around a crayon. I would say 2010 was just when I became more serious about art. Going from doing drawings and sketchbooks with like pen and paper and stuff like that, to actually deciding like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to sit down. I want to learn how to make art that can have people second guess whether it was a screenshot or not. I wanted to be able to see colors without having to struggle looking at it, something going like, is this purple? Is this blue? Is this black? But ultimately, I wanted something to help me distract myself from my chronic pain. It was around that time that I'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia for a few years, and that made, doing anything pretty difficult. Sitting hurt, moving hurt, reading hurt, blinking hurt. I laugh, but it's kind of true. But taking heavy medication also wasn't an option for me. I didn't want to literally sleep my life away. So that's when I turned to the only thing I could think of. Art. I drew whatever made me laugh, honestly. A lot of the times it was just pinups of characters just because of the fact that I thought in my head like, tee-hee, they would hate this. But if it wasn't that, it was also just a lot of shipping stuff. Pretty much along with fan fiction. Art was my way of making the relationships, the pairings that I wanted, into reality. Made that shit happen, yo. But enough about my sad life. Let's talk about Honk Kong Phooey. As I mentioned in a previous video, I am drawn, pun not intended, to shows with a strong sense of characterization. Scatman Crothers just oozes the chill vibe of the 70s as he voices Penrod Penry Pooch. Try saying that 7 times fast. Of all the Hanna-Barbera shows, This is one of the ones where the world and plots feel the most underdeveloped. The villain of the week typically has some gimmick where they're trying to steal money or some artifact that's worth a ton of money, at least. And usually at some point, Honk Kong Phooey gets tricked by them. Spot, his kitty sidekick slash brains of the operation, puts him back on the right track. And in the end, HKP pulls out his book of racism and thinks he's doing some martial arts while Spot sets a trap that ultimately captures the villain, with Phooey thinking he was the one who saved the day. Even the slapstick is weaker than many other Hanna-Barbera properties. Yet, Honk Kong Phooey is so freaking charming. The line deliveries get a laugh out of me every time, and I can't help but think that Crothers' performance is the reason why the show had such an impact on pop culture, being referenced by artists such as the Bloodhound Gang, Space Monkeys, and Danger Doom. Heck, even Malcolm in the Middle has a reference to the show with the line mention of,
"Because that's the only guy I know that would trade a job interview for a Honk Kong Phooey lunchbox."
I think that's also why you see the character pop up time and time again. Although it seems most of the time they're desperately trying to find ways of modernizing him, which I kind of think goes against his whole appeal. We don't want Penry being capable. We don't need the hero this city deserves. Give us that funny man with the heart of gold mucking things up. By the way, Warner Bros., if you ever want somebody to retool the Honk Kong Phooey movie idea you had, hit me up, I got ideas! On a side note, it was only while making this video did I find out that Honk Kong Phooey made an appearance in the Wacky Races 2017 show. Did anyone else know that? Because I really didn't. But yeah, of course I had to watch it. See, I had watched 5 episodes of the reboot and deemed it not for me, since the whole appeal of the OG Wacky Races was the races themselves. The new show puts more of a focus on characters, so we don't really get to see the comedy of the cards doing stunts. However, this episode focused completely on Honk Kong Phooey? Oh god, I was laughing! It also showed some of the ideas I wanted for HKP reboot. Upping the fighting animation, having the setting genuinely being in Hong Kong. Maybe have Phooey get screwed over from his own shenanigans a bit more, and by George, it would be perfect. Ideas I would love to see for a reboot of the franchise, outside of what I just mentioned, would be to also have characters like Rosemary and Sarge be Chinese. Of course, they would need new names, maybe something like Ju or Ling Ling for Rosemary. Oh, what if she was an officer rather than an emergency responder? That would also give her more opportunities to see Phooey in action, and actually allow her to grow a crush by working with him in the field. I'm thinking have her be more of an Elisa Massa to Phooey's, not Goliath. He's kind of more of a Broadway or Bronx, but you get my point. Just tone down the action some, so it's less Batman the Animated Series and more bonkers with the police-related cartoon gags, and we'll be golden. I think we need a little less appropriation, a little more inclusion of actual people with Chinese heritage, especially if we can get them writing and working on the show to really show the culture for what it is. On one last note, before we wrap things up, I did not mean for the last 2 videos to be human furry ships, but I'm also not surprised that happened since that's a trope I'm really into. I think that started way back in the day with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it just stuck around. So we have Roger and Jessica, Rosemary and Penry, Howard and Beverly, Spider Noir and Ham. I wonder if the last one counts as self-cessed. Kind of in there with Negaduck and Darkwing Duck, isn't it? Is it really gay if it's yourself from another dimension? Would Peter Porker even count as being Peter Parker, considering in his universe he started out as a spider and then was accidentally mutated into a pig? These are the questions you need to be asking, people. Wake up! Illuminati confirmed.
I just hope my dreamboat Honk Kong Phooey hears about this.
I got a sneaking suspicion he'll get wind of it.
Excuse me, lovable Lady Fuzz. I better get back to my chores.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end and watching my videos. If you would like to check out more, feel free to click here and over here. But until then, stay safe. Snark out!